So, all the while, the baby is learning, oh, if I give really good suck burst, it's going to turn on this music, which draws my attention. It sounds really nice. I like that sound. I'm going to do this more often.
Hey everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Entering Motherhood, a podcast dedicated specifically to new moms going through this amazing journey in life. I'm your host, Sarah Bilger, a postpartum nutritional coach / mechanical engineer. And as always, I'm so excited to be here with you and share all of the information I've been lucky enough to obtain since becoming a mom. In this episode, we talk with Megan, the owner of Heartstrings Music Therapy Services, about ways that music can help along our journey into motherhood from the NICU and beyond. Welcome to Entering Motherhood, and I am so happy and excited to have you here. So, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Megan Danelz. I'm a board certified music therapist, and I own Heartstrings Music Therapy Services that serves in the upstate of South Carolina in the Greenville area, and I provide individual and group music therapy sessions. So, music therapy is not as well known in South Carolina as it is in other places in the United States. South Carolina is a little bit behind the times, as with a lot of things. And so, any place that I have the opportunity to advocate for music therapy services, I am very appreciative of. So, I'm very excited to be here and to talk about what I do.
Yeah, I'm really excited to just hear more about what you do and how it works and dive all into that because I love music. I absolutely think it's something that can help heal us and do wonders. So I think the work that you do is extremely needed and unique, but definitely something that I think more people need to hear about.
Yes, I agree. I think probably the first place to start would be, what is music therapy? That's the question that I get asked probably the most. Um, Sometimes people will see me, I'll walk into a session or to a facility and I'll have my guitar on my back and a bag full of instruments. And someone might say, oh, there's the music lady, or what are you here to do? And so I've got my elevator speech down pretty well, I think, but I'd like to start with the definition, which is music therapy is an established healthcare profession which provides clinical and evidence based use of music interventions to accomplish individualized goals within a therapeutic relationship by a credentialed professional who has completed an approved music therapy program. Now, that's a lot and it's a mouthful to say, but I like to describe it as it's very similar to speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy in that we are working towards therapeutic goals, very similar goals as other therapies would be working on, but we're using music to do that. So, through the use of music based strategies and interventions, music therapists work with individuals of all ages and abilities to master non musical goals. So, we're not necessarily teaching an instrument, we're not using really even one instrument in our sessions. Um, some of the goals that I'll talk about today include cognitive goals, expressive communication, being able to communicate your wants and needs, emotional goals, physical goals, sensory needs, some academic goals, and cognitive skills, behavior skills. But we're going to use music, instrument playing, singing, songwriting to work towards those goals. A little bit of background of me, I guess, and how I kind of got into music therapy, um, because it is so not well known in South Carolina. There's really only two schools that offer a degree in music therapy. So I have a bachelor's degree in music therapy, and then I have a board certification. I'm a board certified music therapist through the Certification Board for Music Therapy. Um, and the two schools that offer it in South Carolina are Converse College in Spartanburg and Charleston Southern in Charleston. And there are um, some private practices, like my private practice. I own Heartstrings Music Therapy Services, and with that being said, I'm able to serve people of all ages at any walk of life. I also have an additional certification as a NICU music therapist. That's neonatal intensive care unit music therapist. So I do work in there, as well as in memory care facilities, nursing homes, and other medical settings. Right now, my caseload is made up of individual clients, and some of their diagnoses include autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, other intellectual disabilities. I also do group services, so I have some contracts at some private schools and memory care facilities, and I work with I think my youngest individual client right now is 2 years old, and anywhere through 2 years old to my oldest individual client right now is mid 20s. And then I do older adult groups, and then, of course, the work that I do in the NICU. I provide in home services, so I go into clients' homes, as well as I have a clinic space. If you're familiar with the Greenville area, it is right off of Woodruff Road. I have a treatment room, and our newest addition is our sensory room, and it's located inside the Golden Strip School of Music on Garlington Road. It's right off of Woodruff Road in Greenville.
So, what can we kind of expect from a session?
Yes, that's a great question. Um, so, music therapy is completely goal oriented and it's client centered. That means that all of the interventions and activities that we do are geared towards meeting the client's goals. Like I mentioned earlier, some of the goals can include expressive communication, behavior skills, social skills, things like that. So, for example, if I have a client who is diagnosed with autism, one goal might be expressive communication. So, being able to accurately and appropriately express their wants and needs, because that's important, right? You need to be able to communicate when you need to go to the bathroom or when you're hungry or thirsty. And so I work with several individuals who are nonverbal, and their ages range from 3 years old to into their teens. Um, and so we work together to find other ways for them to communicate their wants and needs. We might use sign language, gestures. Some have assistive technology devices, but to work on expressive communication, I would use preferred songs. So if I'm working with a client who is 2 years old or 3 years old, I might use Old MacDonald Had a Farm or The Farmer in the Dell, and we would work on vowel sounds, vocal sounds, and verbalization. So we would use that music to work on increasing those sounds to later work on word utterances. So being able to sing or speak one word and then increase that to two words and then increase that to sentences to be able to communicate their wants and needs. Uh, so another example of goals that I work on in sessions, I have a client who is diagnosed with cerebral palsy and has limited mobility of their hands and upper body, so their arms. Their goals would be increasing their gross motor skills, being able to um, cross midline, so taking one arm over to the other side of their body in front of them. So I would use it's an activity called therapeutic instrumental music playing, TIMP for short. And what it does is I have two hand drums that I'm holding, and the client has drumsticks in their hand, whether they're adapted or they're holding them on their own. And so we're going to use preferred song. Most of the time it's an upbeat song, something that kind of makes you want to dance. So they're going to play the drum whenever they see it pop up in front of them. So I'm going to be moving the drum all over around. We're going to play it up and down. And we're working towards them increasing their mobility of their arms and their upper body, and also crossing midline, so crossing in front of them. That addresses goals like bilateral coordination. There's lots of physical goals that we can work on. Um, and other things that we can work on would be social skills, being able to um, interact with peers. Maybe not so much during this time, during COVID, but um, maybe it's even more important now because I'm getting a lot of younger clients who have not been socializing, and so they are having difficulty in social situations. So making music together, some of the types of activities that we do would be instrument playing. So I have lots and lots of percussion instruments that I bring to sessions. We play instruments, and I play guitar. We sing favorite songs. Lots of movement to music. So we're working on interacting with each other. Maybe we're in a group setting. I do some groups. It's called Tiny Tots music therapy sessions. Um,
Oh.
yes, it's very fun, and we were actually able to do some right before the holidays, and we were able to do them outside in a backyard, which was really fun. We did lots of activities like sing favorite songs. We played instruments. I love songbooks, so I have songbooks like Old MacDonald Had a Farm and Brown Bear, Brown Bear. Um, and we also use a lot of nursery rhymes, which have those beginning uh, language in it, which is great for working on developmental milestones.
Oh, that's adorable. Yeah, and I mean, this is, you're working with kids, but those kids have parents, and those moms, I'm sure, are like so thankful for the work that you're doing, because I feel like it can be hard when you can't communicate with your child. You're able to help them through music to get there and improve, and it's a fun way to move and interact and gain social skills and verbal skills. So I think that as a mom, like, that's something that's so, I guess, like a stress reducer in a way.
Yes, absolutely. You're 100% correct, and that's kind of why we do what we do. Music is fun and motivating, and in music therapy, we're working so hard on these non-musical goals, but we're having fun doing it, and most of the time, our clients aren't even realizing that they're working so hard because they're just having fun and making music and interacting with others to make music. I think, which is incredibly rewarding for me, but also for families as well. Um, because I've run into, almost with all of my clients, I'll have moms and families tell me that, their child gets upset. Maybe it's a certain situation, or they get upset and they don't know why they're upset. A lot of times it's because the child doesn't know how to express what they're feeling. Maybe they are overstimulated, or they just have so much going on and they don't know how to express, I'm feeling this way. Some of the things that we can do in music therapy is to work on being able to express what they need or express what they want. We work a lot on emotional expression, but also being able to identify emotions. And I think that's really important, especially for parents to realize is that kiddos go through a lot, and being able to process those emotions, um, and be able to tell mom or dad why am I feeling this way, and what do I need, and what's going to make it better, is really important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Rosie's starting to kind of, she loves music and dance, and right now she's extremely into Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Oh yes.
So there's like this hot dog song that
Hot
comes
dog,
on.
hot dog, hot diggity dog.
Yeah,
Yep.
and she has to get up and dance when that song comes on. So she like hot dog, and her little cute kind of like mumbled words. It's not clear, but we know what she's saying.
Right, right,
And
exactly.
she just stomps her feet, and it's like the cutest thing. But like, they don't realize that they're moving their body and that they're doing something, and it's just fun for them.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. And music goes back, even before them being able to walk or talk. Music can, obviously start when the baby's in the womb, but also more specifically in the work that I do in the NICU. Um, but I do have a question first. What is your earliest memory of music?
Me.
Yes.
Oh man. Well, so I danced when I was younger,
Okay.
and I started when I was 2.
Okay.
So I I believe like one of my first like recitals was a tap dance, and I can remember wearing this little leotard with a sparkly band, and all I was doing was kind of shuffling my feet back and forth to the music. So I
Okay.
was very kind of like attracted to music. My sister is 2 years older than me, and she was taking class, and I would sit in the back and watch her. And I think they weren't signing kids up until 3 or 4, but I
Okay.
was following along, so they let me
Right.
join.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so that's really young. Most of the time I get people like, "Oh, I remember when I was in the car singing along." But my next question is, how did you learn the ABCs?
Hmm.
Mhm. Through a
Yeah.
song, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was like the ABC song.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, if anyone doesn't know, it's the same tune of "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" or
I
"Baba
heard
Black
that
Sheep."
they're changing it. Is
I
that
did too.
true?
I have heard that, but I refuse. And I refuse because it is so important. That tune is
Yeah.
so important, and it has the beginning signs of language development in it. Um and so I don't think that it ever needs to be changed, and I won't change it personally.
Yeah.
Um
I don't
but
even know the new way.
I don't. I think it's a very similar tune. They're just changing it a little bit, so I don't think it'll stick. Um,
Yeah.
Especially because I mean that's how everyone learns the ABCs, and I could
Right.
probably say them without singing the song, but it's just so innate now that I have to
Yep.
sing the song.
Yep.
And that kind of goes back to, especially before learning how to talk, learning your ABCs, learning how to say them and identify letters. Those are things that we work on in music therapy as well. But it is to the tune of a nursery rhyme song, which in the work that I do in the NICU, it looks a little bit different than, actually it looks a lot different than what I do in individual sessions or in group sessions. Um, and there are two major things that we work on in the NICU, and we use nursery rhymes to do that. I'll explain more about that. But the two major interventions or activities or therapeutic processes that we do in the NICU is, one, we work on non nutritive sucking, and then the other one is an intervention called multimodal stimulation. So I'll go back to the first one, the non nutritive sucking. One of the most important things, and probably the most important thing before when a baby is goes to the NICU and is born prematurely, is they have to be able to feed, whether it's with mom or with a bottle, before they go home, right? I don't think any NICUs will let babies go home unless they are accurately and appropriately feeding. And so one of the things that we work on is non-nutritive sucking. And there is a device, it's called a PAL, PAL. It's a pacifier activated lullaby. And what it does, it's really cool. I think it still kind of blows my mind, but I've been able to work with it. And so what it does, it attaches to a baby's pacifier, and it you can go in and set it to different settings, but it records suck burst, and it records the intensity of the baby's suck. And so, for example, say that I can go into the device and I set it to, the baby needs to do one good suck burst, which would be multiple sucks in a row, and it needs to be at the intensity level 3. And say that baby needs to do it, have two suck bursts at a level 3. So if the baby does two good suck bursts at a level 3, it's going to turn on the device and activate it, and it's going to play 10 seconds of a nursery rhyme. Most of the time, it's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star or a nursery rhyme similar to that. It doesn't have any lyrics, it's just going to be the instrumental version. So it's going to turn on for 10 seconds and then it's going to turn off. And so then the baby has to again do two good suck bursts at a level 3 before it activates the music again. So, all the while, the baby is learning, oh, if I give really good suck burst, it's going to turn on this music, which draws my attention. It sounds really nice. I like that sound. I'm going to do this more often. So, the goal is that the music will continuously play, and if the music starts to continuously play, it means that the baby is accomplishing those goals. So then we would go into the device and increase the intensity or increase the suck burst, um, to where that baby's getting that instant reward, right? The music is continuously turning on. Um, so that being the goal. And then, when mom comes in and it's time to feed, baby has been learning how to give good suck bursts and to suck at a level that they need to in order to feed, um, by receiving motivation and positive reinforcement from this music. Then they're able to feed with mom, which in turn shortens their hospital stay. They can go home, they're feeding great, and they can go home and continue to develop.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that just kind of blew my mind thinking, you know, music can be an instant reward and something that's, so soothing and just kind of, oh, I like this. I want to do that again so that I can hear more music.
Yes, absolutely. And there are ways, because there are not many hospitals that have a PAL. It's not very hard to get, and it's not a new device, but the only hospitals that I have been able to use a PAL with was in Florida and then Tennessee. I don't know if there are any hospitals or NICUs in South Carolina. There might be in Columbia. There are music therapists that work strictly in the NICU in Columbia at Prisma. Um, and I'm not sure if they have a PAL, but you're also able to do this with live music. Um, and you're able to do this, obviously, if the baby is feeding with mom, but also you can put your finger right, just place it right on the pacifier and you're able to feel. Obviously, it's not going to record the data like the device would, but you can feel if the baby is giving a good suck burst and is, sucking hard enough to be able to get nutrients. And then the other intervention, I think, is where my heart lies, but it's a intervention called multimodal stimulation, and it is a lot of stimulation. So it's coupling auditory stimulation, tactile stimulation, visual, and vestibular stimulation all together into one big activity or intervention. It doesn't typically take longer than 20 minutes. Most of the time, it's about 10 minutes. And this is something that I work with moms in the NICU and then even outside of the NICU. Um, because it's really good and it's beneficial for um, babies who've been born prematurely, but also it's really great for parent bonding. And one of the things that I like in the NICU is being able to see the instant reward for me, but being able to look at the vitals monitors and see what I'm doing is working. The baby's heart rate is going down, their oxygen levels are staying within normal limits. So with multimodal stimulation, it is, I'll talk you through the sequence. It is, let's see, it's about 12 different steps, 12 to 15 different steps. But once you get the sequence in your head, it's pretty easy to remember the progression. So we're coupling auditory stimulation, so my voice, humming, or even singing lightly, with tactile stimulation, which is touch. There's a type of a massage progression, and then visual. So looking at the baby, them looking at you. If they're awake, most of the time they're asleep during this activity, and that is perfect. And then vestibular, which is rocking. So we might do an intervention like this with premature babies, because it's getting the babies used to being overstimulated, but in a positive way. So if you think about it, babies who are born prematurely, they are um, continuously developing and growing, but at a fast rate, right? Um, and most of the time, they're in the NICU. They aren't ready to go home yet. They still have some developing to do in order for them to go home. And the goal is for the babies to rest and relax and sleep, really, because that's when they're developing the most, is when they're sleeping and they're comfortable. Because when a baby is overstimulated, they've got too much going on, they're upset, they're not able to calm down or return back to homeostasis. Therefore, it can halt or stunt the developing process because their body is working so hard to calm them down. It's not continuing to develop. So what we do is basically get the babies used to being overstimulated. Because when you go home, there's lots and lots of stimulation. Maybe there's a sibling who is very excited to see a new baby, or there's dogs barking, or a light that's on too bright, or doors slamming, things like that. And then if a baby gets upset, it's going to take them a lot longer to calm down. So this type of intervention can help with that. And so what I would do is if a baby is um, in a crib, so not in an isolette, we also can do this in an isolette, which is a shorter version. But if a baby's in a crib, if parent is there, awesome. I would talk a parent through this progression. Sometimes I have moms request that I do it first so they can see how it's supposed to go. And I'm more than happy to do that. So what I would do is pick up the baby and just hold them in my arms. I'm going to be sitting, preferably in a rocking chair if available. If not, then just comfortably on a chair. And I'm going to give the baby a few seconds to adjust from being moved. Because even just moving from a crib to your arms can be overstimulating. Um, so I want to make sure that they are calm before I start anything. So once they're calm, typically it's going to be about 30 seconds. Um, Having them in my arms, I'm going to start humming and I'm going to use um, nursery rhyme. So something that is very smooth, fluid, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Farah Jaka. And it's going to be slower than you think because you don't want anything too jarring, too loud. Start with a soft hum, and so I'll start humming. I'll hum for about 30 seconds. And during this whole progression, I'm looking for any signs that the baby is overstimulated. Some of those signs might be a grimace, a red face. So if the baby has a red face or is grimacing, um, then that's a sign of overstimulation. Or a halt hand. Halt hands, you're very much able to tell what they are. It is a stop hand. And if you lightly touch on a baby's fingers and they don't bend, then that they're telling you, stop, I can't take it right now. Um, it's true. They really tell you. And I get all of my cues from the babies. If they arch their back or if they get hiccups, a lot of times I will, have friends that have babies and like, oh, they're hiccups. Well, in the NICU, if a baby gets hiccups, that's a sign that they're overstimulated to me. So during this progression, if they show me any signs of being overstimulated, I take off the last thing that I layered. So if I get signs that they're overstimulated in the beginning, when I'm just humming, I'll stop humming and I'll just have them in my arms until they're calm, and then I try it again. So this time, say I tried again, I hum for about 30 seconds. I'm going to start a tactile stimulation, which is um, a light touch. It's not light enough to tickle, but it's not hard. But it's pretty good pressure. Most of the time, babies are swaddled, so you have to apply a little bit more pressure so they can even feel it. But I'm going to start on the scalp. And through this whole progression, I'm going to keep humming. I'm never going to stop humming. And I'm going to start on the back of the scalp on one side and take two fingers and just go from the back of the scalp all the way up to the forehead, just with that light touch. I'm going to do that for about 10 seconds and then switch sides. And if the baby is calm and all good, Then I'll continue with the progression and continue with my humming. I'll go to the back, and the back is linear to start with. So I'll go straight down the back with 2 fingers, humming and this tactile stimulation, the touch. And if there are no signs of overstimulation, I'll do the same thing but in a circular motion. So each of these tactile progressions are about 10 to 20 seconds long. If you're singing or humming Farah Jaka or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, it's about one verse or one time through the song. And then you'll switch and you'll move on to a different part of their body. After the back is the throat, and I'll just go horizontally if I can get to a throat. Most of the time they're swaddled, and if you can't get to a body part like the throat, don't disrupt anything you're doing to try and do that. Just skip it and go on to the next part. The next part would be arms. So I'll start with one arm, and you start at the shoulders, and you do your best and go all the way down to their hands. A lot of times they're folded up in front of them, so you just kind of have to feel where the arms are. Again, about 10 seconds on each arm. Um, and then you're going to move on to the legs and do the exact same thing. Start at the hips and go all the way down to the feet. And then you'll do up to the cheeks. And as long as the baby hasn't shown you any signs of overstimulation, you're good to continue with your auditory, so you're humming. And I would stick with the same song that you started with. I don't typically like to change songs. If it seems to be working and there's no signs of overstimulation, I just stick with the same one. Twinkle Twinkle, Farah Jaka, um, ABCs if that helps you in your head. And then, so cheeks would be like tears. Start at their eyes and go down like tears on either side. Again, about 10 seconds on either side. And then the forehead would be Simba, 2 fingers all the way across their head like Simba from The Lion King. Um, and then the last one is nose to ears. And sometimes babies that are in the NICU have their oxygen in. And if they do, that's fine. You can go right over the top of it. Or for nose to ears, you can just follow it along on their cheeks all the way to their ears. Again, it's about 10 seconds on each side. So that's the touch, the tactile progression. And you're continuing with your humming. So at the end of the tactile stimulation, if you haven't seen any signs of overstimulation, the baby is cool and calm. You can also look for responses and reinforcers or positive responses. So head orientation, if the baby kind of nuzzles into you or turns their head towards you, that's a positive sign. Or smiling. Eye contact, I always tell moms if baby opens their eyes and looks at you, you can stop humming and say their name or say hi or just direct, just you can talk to them, but continue to try to keep the same volume as the song. But it's really important that you address them and say their name and say hi if they give you that positive reinforcement of eye contact, or any cooing, any positive vocalizations, or snuggling. That's another positive sign that they are comfortable, they feel safe, and that they are, again, being overstimulated because you're doing a lot, right? You're touching different parts of their body, you're holding them. And then the last part would be vestibular stimulation, and that's rocking. So we're going to start the entire progression over again, but we're going to do it while we're rocking. Um, and there are some NICUs that don't allow rocking before 34 weeks gestational age. So it's always good to check if you want to include rocking. Most of the times, the hospitals will and the NICUs will tell parents if they don't allow it. But yes, total it should be no more than 20 minutes if you're rocking. If you're not rocking, then it's about 10 minutes. And then you put baby back in their crib or you hold them or it's time to feed. And if you haven't had any signs of overstimulation, then that's a positive, and that's a goal met for a music therapy multimodal stimulation intervention.
Wow. Yeah, so that just helps with, when they're going to be going home and have all that external stimulation then.
Yes, absolutely. And even in the NICU, um, it helps as well because NICUs are actually really loud. They say that they're quiet, but they're honestly really loud. Um, and also, music therapy research has shown that it's significantly decreased the hospital stay for babies who've been born prematurely that have received music therapy services. And so the goal is that they get out of the hospital quickly and sooner, and so they're able to go home and thrive.
Yeah. And then is that something that a mom can keep up with when she comes home with the baby or
Yes, absolutely. It's a great bonding experience. And then, once the baby is home, definitely use lots and lots of music. If mom has, a favorite song that she likes to listen to, maybe she can do this tactile stimulation or this touch progression with her favorite song. Being able to incorporate different types of music outside of the NICU would be really awesome.
yeah, that's definitely we're not like crazy musical people, but like like I said, like we really enjoy music. I love it. My husband plays a little bit of guitar here and there, and then I got a keyboard just because it was kind of like, well, if you're playing the guitar, like I want to learn how to play an instrument. So we've tried to kind of like really incorporate music into Rosie's life as she's grown. And even when she was in the womb, I would kind of like put music up to my belly and see if like she would react and be stimulated in that sense. And I think it's definitely a bonding experience to like, all the songs that you knew as a kid and then being able to share them with your children, I think I think is really, I don't know, like entertaining in a way and like something that you guys can like bond over. Like when they learn songs at school or whatnot, like, those songs too. Or like you said, like learning the ABC is like, it's simple little sounds that can make all the difference.
Right, absolutely. And a lot of the songs, Twinkle Twinkle, ABCs, nursery rhymes, um, again, just have so many educational aspects to them. And I think the sooner that a child is introduced to music in that way, they're just further along in meeting their developmental milestones.
So what do you like most about what you get to do?
I love being able to help any person at any walk of life reach their fullest potential through the use of music. So being able to um, help someone communicate their needs or process their emotions or meet those physical goals is incredibly rewarding to me, and it's incredibly rewarding to see clients that might not progress otherwise or might not be reaching their developmental milestones meet their goals in music therapy. And then, of course, in the NICU, I think I already mentioned it, but being able to see instant results on the vitals monitors, I think that's one of the things that I absolutely love uh, to be able to see.
Yeah. And what kind of interactions have you been able to have, with moms, like with working with their children? How closely do you get to kind of hear how it's benefiting the mom or the parents and getting that kind of response?
Yeah. Well, in the NICU, um, my hope is that moms will be in there with me and I'm able to train them on how to do multimodal stimulation. And so they're able to do that even when I'm not there. And then, I've had times where I'll go back for a session after I've already met with mom and she's so excited to say, "Hey, we did this and I saw no signs of overstimulation and my baby even, made eye contact with me and was cooing during this activity that we were doing, and that's really cool to see. And then in my groups and individual sessions, like in my tiny tots class, I have some groups that are strictly mommy and me classes. And those are classes where, we do some baby sign language. And so babies are able to, sign more or sign eat. And we have lots of songs that use signs. And so that's really awesome because I can see, you know, the parent and their child starting to communicate before their child even develops language. I've worked on sign language with babies, 8 months old, and so they're signing, more when they're eating, and I'm seeing mom really understand what they're saying. They want more, and so that's really cool being able to work with families and moms in that sense.
Is that something that you're still doing now? Is that
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. I still have the Tiny Tots groups and the Mommy and Me classes, which those are most of the time one and the same.
And that's just for, like, any kids, like, coming in and
Yes, absolutely. It's more of a general music class. So we're going to start with, playing instruments and we'll use sign language. And I like to use a lot of visuals. I have a lot of puppets for working on animal sounds. And so moms can come as well. And we can do movement to music. And so I'll have, the child sit on mom's lap and they'll be able to move to music together, which is always really fun. I get lots and lots of smiles from that.
Yeah, I might have to come check it out with Rosie.
Yes, absolutely. It would be really fun.
Like I said, she really and I definitely think, like, music and dance and stuff, it helps them express more. I think she was in daycare for a little bit, and they did a lot, like, of the sign language and singing and dancing and stuff, and so, like, I definitely feel like she developed a little bit through that more easily.
Yes. And definitely with um I've seen a lot with music therapy or music in general with emotional expression. So like I've mentioned with you know, your child is upset or just seems to be grumpy that day or something, music is such a great avenue for them to be able to let out all of their emotions that they don't know how to communicate. Um, whether we use drumming or we use maracas or the guitar or whatever. And then after, we make some music together, they seem to be in a much better mood and they're smiling and laughing. And because they've had that avenue to express themselves. And I think that's also really important.
Yeah, and I mean, that makes it easier for us moms because now, they can express what they want and we can assist them easier, and then that's like a lot of weight off us that um now we're able to communicate easier with our kids. And I definitely think, like, the mommy and me scenarios are awesome because then you get to see and bond with your child with music, and it's something that you can, do at home then and interact with them.
Yes, absolutely. And I've had times where I've had clients that'll come to mommy and me classes and then they go home and they'll tell, siblings or dad or whoever, what they did. And so they're able to even teach them, maybe they learned a specific sign or something, but they're able to share that with other family members as well.
Yeah. What are the most common reasons you like you see people, and who's your typical client, I guess?
Yeah. So, um, again, I see people at every walk of life, but right now my caseload has a variety of diagnoses or people with special needs, and but each client is different. And in my private practice, people seek music therapy services because their child loves music and potentially responds better or more accurately to music. And so again, I see people with multiple disabilities, or even I see, um, the Tiny Tots classes or the Mommy and Me classes where moms just want to bond with their child and make music together. And then I see clients who are in other therapies as well, and they're working on those therapeutic goals, and they love music and respond really well to music. And so, um, I will see them for a music therapy evaluation to see, would they benefit from music therapy services. And then, uh, yeah, I think that, and in the NICU, most of the time I get referrals from nurses or from other therapists that see the babies in the NICU, or even, the doctors, the neonatologists can refer to music therapy services. But also, if moms are aware of music therapy services, they can ask the hospital or the NICU if they have a music therapy program, and they can request music therapy services themselves.
Okay. So what hospitals in the Greenville area are you kind of working with?
So I don't work with hospitals in the Greenville area right now. Um, I would absolutely love to, and I actually have a program proposal ready to go. But when I was ready to present my program proposal in Greenville, it was during the big merge, or the big, I guess, um, the Prisma Health and GHS merge. And so I kind of waited on that. There is a music therapy department at Prisma Health in Columbia. The music therapists there are incredible. And so I hope to get back into the NICU and get into the NICU at Prisma here in the upstate.
Okay. And then you said you see clients as young as 6 months. Do you do home visits or they come to you?
Yes, both. And I can see clients younger than 6 months. If they're not in the hospital, if they're at home or they want to come to me. I do offer in-home services, but I have a clinic space right off of Woodruff Road, where clients can come to me as well. And that's where we also have our groups, as at the clinic space. Yes. And then, there is no age limit. And again, because I'm certified to work, with babies, premature infants in the NICU, all the way to the end of life. And so if there's, I work with older adults that are, maybe diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's, which is the complete opposite side of working with babies in the NICU. Um, but I do see clients individual and group setting in those type of populations as well.
That's fun. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else that you'd like to specifically talk about or something that we didn't cover that you kind of see that's helpful that moms would want to hear about?
I mean, if someone is not in South Carolina, again, there are music therapists all over the United States, and there are, uh, much bigger music therapy private practices, clinics, even right around us in Georgia and in Florida. So if there are moms in other places, not in South Carolina, I would suggest, reaching out to find a music therapist, because there are a lot of private practices like me that offer mommy and me classes, or that work in the NICU, or, provide individual services. And, to find a music therapist, it's actually pretty easy if you know what you're looking for. So, um, our National American Music Therapy Association, or American Music Therapy Association, is, found at the website musictherapy.org. And you just look on the left side of the website and click on Find a Therapist. And then you can put in what state you're in, and you can find a music therapist that way. And most states have a state organization. We do. And so if you type in wherever you are, whatever state you're in, and music therapist, you're more than likely going to find the state organization's Facebook page or website, and then you can find a music therapist or a private practice in your area.
Yeah, I'll add that in the show notes
Okay.
and we'll make sure that people can get hooked up with how they can find someone in their area or if they're in the Greenville area, they can definitely get hooked up with you.
Yes, absolutely. And I love networking, and we have national conferences and regional conferences. And so I know a lot of music therapists all over United States, and so, I'd be happy to help anyone find a music therapist if they're in another state. I'd be happy to see if I know anyone in that state or to help them find someone.
Awesome. And then how can we reach you specifically?
Yes, absolutely. My website is heartstringsmts.com. It's heartstrings as in music therapy services.com. And there is a contact page on my website, and that comes specifically to my email, which is the easiest way to reach me is my email and through my website. You can also find me, um, which is, I guess, another point to make is I partner with the Gold Strip School of Music in Greenville, South Carolina, and they offer music lessons in of any instrument that you can think of. And my information is also on their website. And if anyone is looking for music lessons, they have incredible music teachers uh, there as well. And their website is goldenstripmusicschool.com.
Awesome. Are you on social media at all?
I am, yes. Thank you for asking. Uh, I am, my Facebook is Heartstrings Music Therapy Services LLC, as well as Instagram. Most of my information on is on Facebook though. I am still trying to figure out Instagram. I do have a couple of posts on Instagram, but on Facebook, actually, if you're curious about what a tiny tot music class or even a mommy and me class, last year during the lockdown or whatever we had, I actually did quite a few Facebook Live groups, and that was for anyone to join. And we did two groups a week. So the first group was our rock and roll music class, and that's going to look a lot like a Tiny Tots class or a mommy and me class. We played instruments, we did movement to music, and it was really fun. It was in my house, and we just did a Facebook Live, and I had, my clients and then family members, and whoever wanted to join was welcome to join for those events. And then those were on Tuesdays, and then on Fridays we did songbook story time, and I shared some of my most favorite songbooks. And that was also another Facebook Live event, and they're still up on my Facebook. And the rock and roll music sessions are about 30 minutes, and then the songbook story time are typically about 15 minutes. Um, but I would really encourage people to go and watch those if you want to get an idea of some types of groups that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited. I'm going to watch them and
Yes,
maybe
please do.
Rosie
And
and I will have a little jam sesh in the living room or something.
perfect. That would be awesome. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah. This has been amazing. I wasn't sure, diving into this what to expect, but I'm so happy that we had this conversation and I feel like I learned so much and music on the surface level is great, but when you can use it to help with motor skills and everything else, I think that's just so eye-opening and so amazing that like I said, it's just so needed and such a unique way to to help with those things. So thank you so much for what you do and taking the time to tell us and explain to us what goes on in the NICU with music therapy and just outside of that and how we can help our kids communicate with us and express their feelings and emotions and such. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me. I absolutely love talking about what I do, and I could talk for days and days, and so being able to advocate for music therapy is really special for me, and connect and network and be able to help in any way that I can. So thank you again for having me.
Well, this wraps up yet another episode of Entering Motherhood. I hope that you have found this episode helpful, and if you liked it, please share it with others who might also benefit from this information. If there's anything that you'd like to know more about, or maybe you know someone who'd like to be on the show, please visit my website, enteringmotherhood.com. I'm so thrilled to be going on this journey with you and getting the amazing opportunity to help moms during this postpartum experience.